right, so I had a question for Max, and that is, do people ever hook up on Survivor? Consensually, has there been hookups on Survivor? And not like, oh, we went through Survivor together, and like we're hooking up now off the island. Because I'm pretty sure we talked about there's couples that
Oh yeah, there's famously Boston Rob and Amber, and then there's a surprising number of couples and also a surprising number of terrible things destroying their marriages. But I will say, canonically, we have one confirmed instance of a hookup. And that would be during a family visit. A guy named Terry Dietz got to share a bungalow alone with his wife in a secluded hotel, and the next day just had the biggest smile on his face. So I think it's generally accepted that is the sex that has happened for sure. There have been a few other interesting elements. As you said, there were a lot of other couples, like who knows when the relationship started. I believe it was in Australia. One of the old ladies was going through the first aid thing and then just started screaming, I counted 9 condoms yesterday and now there's only 8, or something to the sort. So the fact that they did provide condoms, I think, who knows, the safety thing for that. And, I will also say there is the Keith and Whitney incident in South Pacific, where they looked like just a showmance, and then it's like, oh, okay. And then it turns out that not only was Whitney in a relationship, she was married. And they started, I think they were officially a confirmed couple like at Ponderosa, which is, so if it didn't happen in the game, there's a good chance it happens there. And just, not that they're like major figures, but there's never been a very ironclad confirmed timeline of their relationship. Like, I get, oh yeah, she was married, but they just, you have to, like, it takes 6 months to get a divorce in California or whatever. Like, who knows if it was something like that, or all we know is she was married, she's not married, and now I believe she's married to Keith. So
and this season though, there's no couples.
There's no couples. I guess the way I would like ask the question is like, and we can put any kind of like qualifier you want on it, so it is not a like getcha of like, I would just say, would you have sex on Survivor?
No, I think I'd be too miserable, honestly.
Yeah. Hello, and welcome to American Dreamland. I'm Max Chavez.
And I'm Misty Stone.
Well, welcome back to our coverage of Survivor 50, trying to explore how we cope and deal with everything when a momentous event is happening while chaos and everything happens. I think we can have some preliminary thoughts on Survivor 50.
I think so.
And I fucking love it. It's great.
Yeah, I'm having a lot of fun. I'm enjoying it. I thought I was so sad. You know what? I'm going to be honest. I'm bad at names. And so I'm sorry. I'm going to butcher names. I felt really bad for what's his name who got sent home on the first episode, Kyle.
God, it's a horrible.
Joe has a lot of trauma I picked up on.
So that's definitely why he's very like paranoid and everything.
I realized And I think the anxiety when I was a kid, I don't think I had the words as a kid when I watched Survivor why it gave me so much anxiety, but I think as an adult, it would give me so much anxiety. There's one thing with the challenges. I think the challenges could be fun, and I would feel really bad, like, just, like, fucking up a challenge, you know? Like, you can just tell, like, when you fuck up and you feel like shit and you're like, "Oh, great, now I have a target on my back." But it's the gameplay of, like, making alliances, backstabbing. When do I backstab? That would drive me crazy.
It is a lot. Like, yeah, it's great. I'm not worried. Survivor's really good. It's awesome.
Yeah.
I'm loving it.
The drama came in quick and hot. What was it? What's her name?
Jenna, yeah.
Jenna. I think they were right. She came in too hot.
I
wanted to see more though, because she was an old head. I just thought Ozzy's beef of it not being honorable, for me as a newbie, isn't this how we play? Wasn't that the point of the game?
Let me tell you the lore. So, there is a history there. It's not so much that Ozzy gave this huge speech their last season at Final Tribal, where he's just, "Coach, you're full of bullshit." I cannot believe we got another Martin Luther King quote from Coach.
I did like how he just then looked off into the sun.
What did Mike White say? The just like fugue state that
Yeah.
went into when he's like, "Hey, Coach, I heard a thing. What do you have to say about that?"
Yeah, I love Mike White.
Of course he's great, but that is also we were texting in chat of like he is going to lose it because someone who's just like chill and doesn't care is not gonna bring that up. So yeah, oh god, buff Mike White is so good now. Even Jeff's commenting on it. Great. So yeah, it's real good.
Everyone being like, "Mike, I love White Lotus. Are you sick of people saying that?" And he's like, "No."
Yeah.
No.
He's I'm so happy, but I'm really happy with Mike.
I see. I think the only one I dislike greatly so far is Rizzo. There's just some I can't. Rizzo, I'm sorry, Rizzo, but you annoy me. Yes, Rizzo, he is lazy. He is just like, what are we talking about? What was that weird? This is like my dad. Like, what is happening?
I mean, Colby, I think, is the same age as his dad. And if he's been watching Survivor his entire life, this is the first original hero from Survivor. Colby's a pretty influential figure. This is the third season I am watching with the kids. When we started watching, the kids were just like, "Oh my god, it's Rizzo!" So the only Survivor they can name is Rizzo.
Oh no.
Rizzo's arc so far has been like everyone going, "I fucking hate this kid," to like 12 hours later, "He's really grown on me and I feel he's like my son." One of the hardest things to show on Survivor is like a high quality social player. And I think that's why Rizzo is so divisive, is I think that he is just incredibly charming and really good at connecting with people and fostering those bonds. You can kind of see that from his last game. So I get it. This is going to be interesting. I've been anti Rizzo for a long time. He was in the 49 premiere, which is before we even knew he was going to be on 50. The first image we saw was like, "I'm the Riz God." And everyone was like, "This is going to be terrible." And then we found out the Riz God was going to be on 50. And we were like, "Fuck, this is going to suck so much."
Can I ask? I feel like I already know the answer, but just a question, like a fan question.
Yeah, go ahead.
You and Maria don't talk anymore, right?
No, we haven't talked since like a couple days before the finale aired. So you got a bestie from your season?
Yes. Sophie Bellardi.
Right.
I love her.
Yeah, how did she do?
She did great. I was so proud of her. I actually put a tear in my eye.
Did you vote for Soph, right?
No, I actually voted for Savannah. Because for me as a juror, I always said that I would put my feelings aside because if I was in the final...
He says his number one in the game was in the final 3, and he did not vote for her. And that pissed me off. It made me want to send him home, and maybe that's some baggage that I carry. But that's the reality of the situation. I do not want him within an inch of a jury seat. As far as I'm concerned, he's lost that right. If we lose a challenge and I get my way, Rizzo's going to be walking out of here.
And let me just say, he was not doing a lot of favors to himself in his season. But I do think he is just a very naturally charming and charismatic person.
I mean, I'm having fun, even though I don't know all the deep lore. It's still fun. It's still fun to see all the drama, all the backstabbing. I feel like people are jumping in quick. You kind of have to. I think, like we discussed earlier, they're quick games now, especially.
Yeah, I'm very curious what you thought about the fake idol play of leaving a fake idol at Tribal.
It was kind of silly and how they did it. It felt way too obvious.
I was listening to a podcast and someone mentioned it's like, you know, what's going to happen when someone from a different tribe finds it? Which is statistically the likely option. I forgot how much I love Rick Devens. He's so fucking cool.
If anybody has a hidden immunity idol and you want to play it, now would be the time to do so.
Jeff. I think someone went through my bag. Here we go. I'd like to try to order something off this menu. I want to see if I can order individual immunity or not.
This is an advantage menu. Has a choice of 3 advantages of which you can play 1. Unfortunately, this advantage expired on day 9 and has no power.
Ron and Julie, you are villains. I was already going home. Do you just want to make me look stupid? So my kids think I'm an idiot? Except, you've proven time and time again that you're untrustworthy and disloyal, and Julie's proven time and time again that she loves lying to people's faces. So I would like to play this hidden immunity idol for myself. You guys are gems.
Oh.
This is a hidden immunity idol and holds full power. Any votes cast for Devens will not count.
Yeah, I'm curious to see if it will work. Because I wonder if I wonder if it's found by somebody on their tribe, because aren't we switching tribes this week? This week. So if it is found by somebody on their tribe, somebody could theoretically make the connection. If you're smart enough, right?
I don't know how.
Potentially.
I feel that it only works if Genevieve finds it. Chekhov's idol. I don't see why you show that unless it comes into play in some capacity later on in the season. Because, like, what was it? Is Australian Survivor has hidden idols at Tribal Council. In the American version of that. And I swear to God, this is not me on an elaborate ploy to redeem Winners at War. I know I like it a lot more than other people. I just happen to be bringing in another reference to Winners at War. Adam Klein in Winners at War.
Nothing, huh? Not anything? Looked like maybe it was something. Worth a shot. I don't know. Then maybe that was an idol. I don't know.
You're convinced it's not?
Is it? Can I play it? I want to play that.
You want to play this?
Yeah, can I play that?
This thing that you can't get off of the voting podium.
Yeah, I want to play that.
So, if that is an idol, it would be historic.
Yeah.
The first idol ever hidden at Tribal Council, in plain view of all players, selected by you and played for you.
Exactly.
That is not a hidden immunity idol.
Worth a shot.
That is just
I think Emily was a little messy this episode and
Oh.
put herself in some danger.
Emily had a lot of growth, and then just like, I am going to play exactly as just messy and sloppy as I did at my first tribal council, where by all accounts, the only reason I wasn't voted out was because of nicotine withdrawal. I love Emily as a character. I can relate to her so hard.
I just worry for her. I'm like, girl, I'm scared for you.
So people say, why is Harold Bloom, this great literary critic who writes about Shakespeare and ages of influence and lots of other things, why is he telling us how to read a book?
Well, we have reached...
Sounds like a self-help primer.
Well, there is a self-help aspect to it, I'm glad to say. I mean, usually self-help books are pretty ghastly,
Right.
as we all know, just as inspirational books, as publishers call them, are pretty awful. But I hope this redeems both modes to some degree. No, this is an attempt to write an authentically reader-friendly book. I've been writing a lot of books through the years. I have been teaching for 45 years. I increasingly felt that I wanted to be much more simple and much more direct, and even if necessary, even more personal. And that I wanted to talk about how desperately we all of us need to keep reading. You can't think at all clearly or well without memory. And it matters a great deal what you remember. And if what you remember is mediocre stuff, you're not going to be able to think very well.
Like I said last week, what are we wanting to get out of this thing? Combining it with the idea of reality TV in general being a good reflection of our society, a big part of how we determine the canon, which is what are the great books? Who are the great writers? The foundation of a liberal arts education is what are the ideas and writers and artists that you need to consume to be a well-rounded person and to kind of understand that. The criticism of the canon is, it's too many dead white men. Prioritize people who were in the dominant position of society and excluded marginalized voices. The reason I appreciate the canon is I like the idea that there is a standard in a field of like, this is what we are. If you're looking at Western literature, I think especially when you're talking about just how vast, how complicated, and how stupid in a lot of ways the concept of the West is, it's a stupid concept that nevertheless, like, is so definitional and important for us to understand. Like, it is like, just like, even if what we define as the West and how we configure it is stupid and idiotic and craven, it is a West versus East world because of what we do. It is important to define of who we let in and why into this like Western worlds type of thing. And I think that the canon is important as a role. And I do think it is like, what are the canonical things of, if you really want to understand how this was influential and everything, I'd read a lot of great writers who I fucking hate and just despise. But I get why I had to. It is important to explore and know how to teach these things. It's important to know the fundamentals. There's a problem when you try and solidify it too much. I like the concept of a canon, but I think it should be very fluid. I think you need to change. If we're going to have a Western canon, obviously it needs to include a lot of diverse voices, and it needs to include a lot of experience, and sometimes it needs to have a little bit of junk, because like Shakespeare and Dickens were not what we would consider literary figures in terms of like who we would consider a literary figure in the 20th century, like a Faulkner or whatever. They were like pulp writers who like spoke to something in the human condition, and they just became part of the culture. I understand that, yes, we're using the same fundamentals of literature, we're using the same kind of critical theory and the same traditions of literature, but I do think you need a separate canon if you're going to do African American literature, for example, because, yes, it helps if you understand the language of where this comes from, but what you're focusing on and researching is like, you want to see how Black voices express themselves and what their opinions were in history. That is what African American studies is. So if you're going to do that with literature, you need to shape your canon of what you are trying to learn. And I only mention that because Harold Bloom, this school of resentment, I don't agree with it, but I can be sympathetic to an argument of pure aesthetics. But with him is he says, he did the classic thing of like, we used to study literature and now it's all political and bullshit and I hate it. Would you like to guess who he blames for why we no longer study literature anymore and why it's sad?
Who does he blame?
Well, he calls it the school of resentment.
The school of resentment.
The feminists, the Marxists become too politically correct, and we're picking authors for political reasons rather than for aesthetic value, which is like, first of all, if we're going by aesthetic values, some of the people on your list fucking suck, dude. I hate The Great Gatsby. I hate that book so much. And I'll go the other way. I don't think it's bad. I understand. I think that it is. Well, first of all, it's chosen for political reasons. Those political reasons are, we want literature to give us a perspective of what American society was like at this time. Someone like Faulkner, it's not that he's not speaking of concerns at his time, but he is talking, I feel his work is more, it speaks more to eternity and, you know, the very classical human values through the lens of Mississippi during his lifetime or his family's lifetime. And, you know, I think that is great and it speaks to something, but it's something like it's not just what they focus on and their interest. It is, or just because they're different people, it is like you read Faulkner to learn something fundamentally different than why you read Fitzgerald. And I'll even just put it full on to just two of my favorite writers of all time, because, you know, I'm a boring white guy with an English degree. Obviously, I really like Hemingway and Faulkner. I think they both do things in a similar way. Hemingway is focusing on more contemporary issues because he is putting his experience a little bit more at the forefront than Faulkner is. I am not going to learn the same things reading a Hemingway as I am Faulkner. And I love both. If you want to do something that's going to depress you but enrich your life, read anything by William Faulkner or Ernest Hemingway. Either one. It's great. It's political of why do we teach literature and what are we trying to get out of it? Make it about our theory that reality TV show is a reflection of the time. What do we do of when we're trying to analyze something like Survivor? What are we going to look at and value with, especially when it has these fascinating game elements, and especially when it is something that is always of its time, but can serve as more than a capsule. It is interesting to also just watch Survivor as an evolution of a game, the same way you'd watch like Ken Burns' documentary on baseball of like, here's how we got here. There's value in studying literature. It's okay to enjoy yourself, but it is kind of frivolous. It's not that we should prioritize it or it should be the only thing, but I feel it's not a waste of an avenue to go into.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
Mm-hmm. Who would you say is like, let's, give reading things. Who would you say is an author you had to read in school that you just hated, and just one of the like classical dead white guys or like of that ilk where it's like, they're a good writer, read their stuff?
Well, who came to mind?
Go for it.
Hemingway.
You didn't like Hemingway?
I didn't love Hemingway.
Oh, you do love Hemingway? Okay, cool.
No, I mean, I didn't hate Hemingway, but I didn't love Hemingway. We read The Sun Also Rises.
Here's another thing that, like...
Yeah, I will say, too, I also did not connect with Sylvia Plath at the time. Maybe if I read her now. But I had beef with Sylvia Plath and Reading the Bell Jar.
I mean, I feel Sylvia Plath. There's harm in liking Sylvia Plath. Maybe this is just I dated too many sad girls in college who liked the Bell Jar. But
I was sad, but then I felt like I read the Bell Jar and I said, "Really? This will sound callous, and it probably is, but I think I was like, damn, maybe I'm not that depressed." And I was like, damn, no wonder she killed herself.
I mean, kinda.
I was like, that was my reaction. I was like, holy shit, girl. Like, I felt like I empathized with her experience as a woman, especially at that time. I just really struggled. And I did read some of her work again recently, and just how she talks about it. I still don't love it. And connect with it. So, like,
I absolutely get it. I'm not the biggest Sylvia Plath fan. I just, like, if you like her in high school, I feel like you're going to become a very annoying person, at least in your early 20s. But most people are. So I'll say this, there are tragedies, regardless of how we feel about, end of life and bodily autonomy and stuff. Is like, suicide is a tragedy in many ways. I will say this, having read Sylvia Plath, having read Ernest Hemingway, as tragic as it might be, I was not surprised when I found out how they went.
Yeah.
It's like,
I was like,
did you hear? Ernest Hemingway killed himself. It's like, I'm in no way shocked. There's Rogue. Hello, Roanoke. Roanoke, what are your thoughts on Sylvia Plath?
I don't think Roanoke likes Sylvia Plath.
No.
She probably met Sylvia Plath.
Yes, in her more... Do you think Roanoke was like, let's get day drunk, Sylvia? And then when she went a little too heavy, she just kind of dragged her. It's like, let's just put your head right here.
Yeah. It was actually Roanoke who killed. She didn't kill herself. It was Roanoke. She's just at the scene of every crime.
So the crimes of Roanoke Island. She's responsible for Hemingway. My top 5 seasons are Cambodia. It's my favorite season. Cagayan, Heroes vs. Villains, Micronesia, and Pearl Islands. When I did my massive COVID rewatch, when I was ranking them and stuff like that, I do believe I had... I'm going to jump to my bottom 5 really quick, because I do think that that's much easier to answer what makes a bad season. So, again, in no particular order, my bottom 5 seasons are Thailand, All Stars, Game Changers, Island of the Idols, and One World. And the kind of similar, I will say, is One World is ranked 46th for me. And that is because of those seasons, it is the only one that is there purely because it is a terrible season. Thailand, you had an incident called Grindgate, where there was some uncomfortable grinding and mixed emotions that happened during the night that led to a fight and basically turned out to be like, oh, the woman complaining is crazy. She said she was okay with it, and then she started saying, this is weird, so let's just vote her out because she's being annoying. Coincidentally, also the only black woman on the season.
Just a lot of misogyny and racism. Oh my god.
Yeah, so a lot of terrible things when everyone's living on the same beach. Like, one tribe is just going like, wait, are they just pissing in the cave? And they're like, yeah, they're just pissing in the cave. And they're like, why are they pissing in the cave? The ocean's right there, and there's so much stormy weather, and they don't have a shelter. They were using the cave as the shelter, and they were just still pissing in it. Yeah, so, like, this is the caliber of people we're dealing with.
Oh my god, that's the worst. That reminds me of when my partner and I were in our naked and afraid phase, and in one episode, this guy and girl, the girl, like, you know, has bowel issues, and there was this little river with a little section where they could easily catch fish, and she decides to wash her ass in the fish area that they were catching food, and a couple hours later all the fish were dead, and the guy was pissed, and she was started crying, and she was like, do you think it's because I cleaned my ass? Yes girl, it is exactly for that reason.
Dead fish. What could have done that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm super nervous about Matt saying it was my poop. I have to go sit down because I'm gonna pass out. Don't have any energy.
Speaking of Grindgate, had Richard Hatch get naked during a challenge and then thrust himself at a female contestant. Yeah. Oh. And that really, like, screwed her, and she, like, walked from the game, and that's a whole other, like, multiple level of controversy and, like, really weird to rewatch. Like, even remembering it happening and then just rewatching it and just the weird, oh god, just like, oh, what's her problem type thing. And, like, even now, all this stuff of just, like, I don't know. It was... Yeah. All-Stars, it's just such a dark and bitter and miserable season. Like, that final tribal council is just, fuck you, Boston Rob, we hate you. You betrayed us. Game Changers was when Varner outed Zeke, which... That was... Like,
that's something.
Yeah, it's a bum season. Island of the Idols is the season I haven't watched because Creepy Dan just kept touching people. I think it is bad when you have to expel someone from the game for sexually harassing someone.
Yeah, that's pretty bad.
It just sounds fucking miserable. And, like...
Yeah, no, that sounds awful.
And then... One World is One World, just everyone kind of sucks. It is also a very miserable season. It has this dude Colton who's just like super racist, and he's so mean, and I do think it's easy to like just people being miserable. I can deal with tension, I can deal with hatred, I can deal with strong emotion. It is just like, what are we for? Like, what is happening? It's like, even, I don't know, I want to be able to empathize or engage in some way. Devon's is a great example. In his original season, he, like, towards the end was just like, I'm just gonna be kind of just a chaotic dick. And it was really good television. One, because everyone was kind of, like, annoyed but gamified. They weren't hurt by what Rick was doing. And it was also just like, it was more like the wrong was like, you've wronged me in the game and I'm in a bad position and I'm acting emotionally to that, rather than just like, why did you personally hurt me like that? Cambodia, I think that we can relate it a lot to 50 is it's one, everyone wants to be here. Going back and forth of like how good their game was is like people were trying. Like this had stakes that we hadn't seen in a while. And I think that of the like very game body era of just like game mechanics and things like that is that it was like everyone was firing on all cylinders. They were engaging with it. They were wanting to kind of focus on it. And like, you know, people were trying and taking big swings and like a lot of interesting moments happened. And again, that did lead to a lot of fun moments. You had Wentworth's idle play. She just nullified like 11 votes. So that was cool. The final 6 vote, I think, is very interesting from a gameplay mechanic perspective and like how they were able to kind of manage it and turn it around for all of that. I really like Jeremy as a winner. Heroes versus Villains, the greatest pre-merge. I think Poverty's idle play at the merge vote, best idle play in Survivor history. So good. Micronesia also has a lot of great moments. It's weird. Not that either of them did shit particularly bad. I think it's probably the most interesting final tribal council. And then Pearl Islands, obviously, you have Dead Grandmother, you have Throwing Out the Fish, you have Rupert stealing the shoes. So I'm trying to think of that, but in terms of like, so I think an easy thing to like separate the top from the bottom is like, you know, there's nothing I have to apologize for liking in any of these seasons. So my top 5 winners, and this actually is in order, I did rank them, is I have Tony at Winners at War, which I've not shut up about since we've started recording. We have Jeremy in Cambodia. Cambodia is my favorite season. I think he perfected the way you use the meat shield strategy. I think the few big risks he took were very calculated and good. Playing the idol for Fishback, knowing how to play it, switching the vote to Kimmy, like a lot of impressive things. And, you know, anyone who gets a unanimous vote, you got to respect. Poverty and Micronesia, I have at 3. I'll say a couple things. I'm comfortable saying Poverty is the best Survivor player of all time. With that said, I don't think a member of the Black Widow Brigade doesn't win that season. So she is a little bit of a stand-in. Like, I think whoever won Micronesia. 4 is Kim Spradlin for One World. And as much as I dislike this season and the cast was just... I think how I rank winners is if you played this, like, the likelihood of repeat success. If you played like Jeremy played in Cambodia, not Jeremy himself, but do the equivalent of everything in your season, your likelihood of winning is incredibly high. Same thing is true with Kim. If you are able to dominate a game to that level, the way she did, like, you're gonna do well. Plenty of people have controlled the game and lost. It's like, yes, because they were assholes about it. She never had to force her will on anyone. I always go back and forth on 4 and 5. 5 is Boston Robin Redemption Island. I think he dominated in the same way Kim did. Obviously, he invented the strategy. I do feel that I think Kim had options towards the end. I think at a certain point, if there was a wrench thrown in, I think Kim would have been better off than Rob. Rob did not get to the end perfectly one time, and he lost. The 2 overlap I have of top seasons and top winners is Micronesia and Cambodia. Everything else I would feel comfortable is on the lower end. I'll defend Jeff a little bit of like, you have to have people who are willing to play the game. And it's hard because you want them to organically happen. It's like, you have to create opportunities. But every time they've tried to force an opportunity, it's always gone badly. I'm thinking of like the hourglass twist or do or die type twist they tried in the 40s, which are just unfair. You have to have interesting options and trust the cast to work with it because, you know, I don't care how much that's going to benefit or be an amazing move when it turns out like I'm already in love with the moment of Christian falling down and Devin's hiding a fake idol. Like, just...
I just want to know how it's going to play out already. I just need to know. That's it. That's where I'm like, I need to know how this is going to work. Is it going to work or is it going to backfire?
I just was screaming at my TV last week, and it's like, you're complicating this too much.
Yeah.
You got an idol.
Part of me, I'm like, I know I don't have the history, but part of me felt like this could backfire on you.
Well, that's the thing, is there's not really a history of that backfiring. It is just like, I feel, even though you don't know the history, it's like, I think you understand, at least in the context of this season, I think you understand who Rick and Christian are.
Yeah.
And as a result, you're like, oh my God, the two nerds found each other and have an opportunity to do chaos.
Mm-hmm.
And they've chosen chaos. And it's like, this is going to be fun. Because, okay, if nothing else happens with this, it's like we still have a hilarious moment of like, I'm going to do a fake fall. And then just like a heist moment.
Right.
Yeah, I think that, because again, it is like, I do think that it is, of the top seasons, it is a combination of people playing incredibly hard, people just leaning in. If they put Pearl Islands on the list, is like, you just have a guy going like, all right, I'm going to steal the other team's shoes and sell them in this Panamanian village. Great strategic move. It's also just a great moment of just like this whole thing, and everyone's just like, and you're just like, where are our shoes? Sandra going like, like she was into her like sexually. It's just, you have the dead grandma alive. Maybe it is the casting that is the magic thing. There was a brief period in one episode where it's just like, a man is scared of a pelican. This is no real bearing on the game, but it is hilarious.
24 strangers are about to be marooned here with nothing but the clothes on their backs. For the next 55 days, they'll be forced to work together to battle the elements and each other until only one is left standing. This is Australian Survival.
So, it's something I realized is, just to kind of go on, with, again, is Tony won Winners at War. Winners at War aired in 2020. So,
okay.
There's that. Poverty in Micronesia was 2008. Anything stressful or weird happen in 2008, especially if, let's say one was in high school and about to go to college, at the height of maybe the worst economy? With Redemption Island and One World, I've like, more so One World, of just like how miserable the cast was and how much I did not like that season. And it's just like a slog to go through. And, I also think, like, I say, yes, the seasons with abuse are worse. However, I think that I don't really emphasize that distinction so much by putting One World in my list, because they just were so mean to each other. And it was so miserable.
Yeah, that doesn't seem like it would be fun to watch, because there's some meanness, you can tell, but there's also genuine camaraderie amongst the groups, and you can tell some of them really hate when they have to do the backstabbing.
And I will also say is that just in terms of the seasons I liked most, it's not just that each of these seasons has multiple moments that are burned into my brain. Pearl Islands is very infamous for it having the first return twist of the outcast. I was just randomly on Twitter, and someone from that cast still complaining about it. Granted, now I will, in defense of Andrew Savage, it's Tuesday, fuck the outcast twist from Pearl Islands. He was talking about Survivor, so people were asking him questions, and he was, you're asking, I will tell you my honest feelings about it. Micronesia has the twist final 2 as opposed to a final 3. Cagayan has the Tyler Perry idol. You have heroes versus villains. whether Poverty or Sandra should have won. I am a, massive Survivor fan of overseas, so I do want to just kind of like end it. I love Australian Survivor. This is more just my kind of commentary rather than judgment. Australian Survivor is just Survivor themed Big Brother. You have all these wacky twists, and I like it. You have to look at it from a very different perspective. Reality TV is a reflection of us. I think that it is a very good way to kind of view where Australia is at those times. I know it's a more of like, because we were all complaining about it in the 30s of, oh man, we're doing a theme. Like, come on. I was never really opposed to themes. It was more just like, what is a hero, what is a healer, and what is a hustler? Though, I'm also on record, best season name ever, Heroes versus Healers versus Hustlers. Yeah, great season name. We want themes again, which I'm more than happy, like, yes, let's do themes again. But like Australian Survivors, like, they don't have themes. The only times they're not in Samoa is during the quarantine years where they were just in the outback because they couldn't leave the country. So it's like, that's the same location. Like, here's Misty, I want you to see the variety of the names we have. 2016, Survivor.
Okay.
Next, we have Survivor 2017.
Oh, okay. Cool. Spicing it up a little bit.
Oh, wait, there's a twist for season 3.
Oh.
Champions versus contenders.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
The champions.
All right.
They're champions at life, and then contenders, like... So, season 4. Can you guess what the theme is?
So we're in 2019 now.
No, let's see. So, yeah.
2019. So we're not in the pandemic yet.
No.
Wow. It's not racist, is it?
No.
That's good.
It was Champions versus Contenders 2019.
Oh.
Also, we should get a male model. But he's like the highest paid male Australian male model. Now host of Australian Survivor, David Gent, who Golden God, fucking amazing. Because let's be honest, you play too hard. Your bitch is too bad. They gonna kill you. Season 5 was All Stars. Then we had Brains versus Brawn.
Okay.
All right. Then we had Blood versus Water.
I thought you were going to say Crips.
That would have been amazing. Also, a previously used American Survivor theme. So after you had Heroes versus Villains.
Okay.
Yeah. Then you had Titans versus Rebels. One might ask, could one call a Titan a champion? One could. Could one call a Rebel a contender? One could. Was it even more kind of ridiculous? Brains versus Brawn 2.
Okay. We love our comebacks in Australia, apparently.
And that's why we have Australia Survivor Redemption, which is just everyone has a theme to kind of redeem themselves. Like, they're fighting for redemption. The twists are sometimes like really stupid. I get how it's exciting television, but I'm also just like, why did I watch a fire making competition at like the final 15 in a 24-person season when we're still like 6 votes from the merge or whatever? Like,
right.
Why did we need to do this elaborate thing of, and it was fun to watch. Like, the challenges are better. I'll say this. They put a lot more kind of thought and everything, but it is just like, why are we like, why did we need to have a challenge to have individual immunity to then do a fire-making challenge to determine which tribe is going to tribal council. This seems like a very elaborate way to just do an immunity challenge. And I realized that the discourse of this happening is, to kind of go on with this, is, again, Australian Survivor premiered in 2016 during COVID, when Survivor fans started to get really into now Australian Survivor. And I do think part of that was the new era of it just being something different. But it is also, when we started to migrate, it's it doesn't really correlate with American Survivor that much. Because, yes, it's not just that Survivor is now different in the new era, but it is also just everything else that is going on. It is hard to see something that is, for whatever reason, disappointing when everything is kind of falling around you, and then seeing something that's like, where Trump's not president? Australia. Because Americans love to be like, how many people were like, Justin Trudeau, thank you. Like, okay. There are areas where it is better. I think that if you are a challenge person, the challenges in Australian Survivor are a lot different. And one of the reasons that I think they can do those challenges is, there's less intense survival elements at camp. You're going to have your basic nutrients, it seems like. And again, that is to just say, like, that means they can put them in more physical competitions without a risk of something going wrong.
Yeah.
But things also have gone wrong. They've been sued many times. And I have an excuse of it being something different, and I can kind of merge it into my nostalgia. It being a way of control is that when there is everything going wrong, I can go to my fandom. I can go to my hobby. The Chicago Bulls are a really good example of, like, Jordan in the 80s was this huge figure. And it wasn't just that he is a phenomenon, but he is becoming a phenomenon in this time where, if you're a basketball fan, you're finally starting to hit the mainstream at a level that we kind of know it as today. And, we're really going to focus on this story of young Michael Jordan for the Chicago Bulls because, one, he's phenomenal, and two, man, his shit crazy in Chicago in the 1980s when the black mayor has the Democrats going like, we're not going to listen to a black guy, and fucking fight him on everything. And then on his weekly call-in show, someone said, Mr. Washington, this is going to cost the taxpayers to remove all the elevators so you can climb up the vines because you're a gorilla.
Okay.
2010, when Heroes versus Villains happens, there's these intense debates about whether Sandra or Poverty won. People are more so having their opinions and then forming their ideology around that is ultimately what it comes down to. I do think, and this is just true of any community, but so many of these kind of external elements going in. When I see Poverty should have won Heroes versus Villains, it seems interesting to me that they focus on that game. And not like saying like this great thing she did in Micronesia, she also did there. But that also has to do with like the fact of, well, Suri would have won if she made it to finals, and she was robbed because of that. It allows us to have these preconformed opinions, but not have to deal with the contradictions. If I feel that Poverty was robbed, then I can feel Suri is robbed, and I don't have to deal with that contradiction. I don't know if it's because I really started to engage with the online community post-COVID. When I was in my rewatch, these moments of tension of Winners at War not being the perfect thing because you've looked forward to this so much, and it's also airing during this time to kind of like tie into those elements. And it is just so much of just like, to make it American it is just like, it is a way to deal with like our helplessness and to deal with those difficult things indirectly with all of that.
Yeah.
It is, listen, like, let's just look at it, is it's kind of unfair that there was this like twist that was screwed, like this twist that like made a surprise final two, and the middle-aged, overweight black woman was the one who suffered from it, compared to just two just skinny white traditionally attractive ladies. Like,
Yeah.
that it is, how do you have that conversation of, this is a situation where there was no like malicious intent. I'm not one of like these things going on behind the scenes. I think it is just like, we have to do this because like we have to fill X number of television hours. We have to do X number of challenges. How do we do that with these medevacs we've had? We'll just make it a final two. It wasn't pre-planned. Like, there could have been a tie. That would have been really bad in terms of what does production do. But it is representative of how we deal with these systematic issues. But bad luck happens. And systems take time to fix. Famously, Hillary Clinton said, how is regulating the banks going to stop racism? It's not. But you'll stop systematic financial racism, or it becomes easier to change this negative thing is happening, and then also just the luck of reality. And it allows us to have these kinds of debates. I think one of the reasons that it is, I think change means death. So we all have this primal fear of death, and thus we are subconsciously like associating it with change. But I do also think is that with change, it is also how we can be at peace, how we can kind of vibe and engage with the universe. And when change happens, it means that you may not be able to do that anymore. Let's say you do it by playing a certain type of game, and then all of a sudden the types of games you play has this like annoying quirk that you no longer like. Okay, I'll play my old games again. But then it becomes so entrenched in nostalgia and memory that you become locked in, so you associate change with destroying that comfort. I'm mentioning it through me. I have a top 3 for Survivor, but honestly, it's hard for me to say I have a top 5 because it has this nostalgia. You become more entrenched, and then it becomes which is the true version of that. And you kind of need that because we all have this interpretation of what revolution is, and we all selfishly kind of want to avoid it, which then means is we have to work within. If we want to like immediately help people, we have to work in certain things within this structure. As we're learning in Trump 2 is, what can be made can just as easily be unmade. And then in times of chaos, it becomes more important what this institution stands for. You've seen what compromise does. The Democrats have been the compromise party basically my entire lifetime. And, what have they been able to do to really turn back the tide at an institutional level?
Yeah, nothing.
Yeah, no. But it is then, okay, we have to do this, but we have to have the idea. And that's where I think ultimately like the ranking and everything kind of comes into is that, and it goes back to the canon of we need this in all aspects of our life. And it becomes more important and something, I say it takes up more mental energy, but it is like, even if we are activists, even if we are doing things, that is a goal, that is a job, that is something we do. Whereas our fandoms, the content we consume, I don't want to sound too consumerist about it, but it is part of who we are. So that's what I mean when it takes up more mental space of like, what is it that I stand for? What can I not tolerate? And in these times of chaos, it becomes, more of a thing of like, I don't know what institutions the government is anymore. I don't know where it's going, but my fandom says it has to be this. And ultimately, and I think this ties to our deeper thing of like, this podcast is us trying to find our cult. of what it is, and but also because we have this annoying, skeptical part of our brains, is like, how are we able to, keep the part of ourselves that we know as ourselves, but still have the joy of people who are just like, whatever dear leader tells me, for all of that.
How do we have the joy of believing that we're starseeds?
Exactly. Ultimately, what that has to do is you have to create these divisions because you have to compartmentalize it, because there is nothing. There is no institutions. There's nothing that stands. All we have is each other. And even if you were in the most supportive community, in the best position you can be right now, like, when all you have is each other, all you have is people, and people are fallible. Regardless of our ideology, we need these systems and these structures to be around and to support us. And we just have to, at some point, we have to draw a line. There are so many things that now open up of what do we include, of how do we engage with these elements, of then having to systematize what is and isn't. And we get more into it and we focus more into it when we have less control and when, our decompression becomes much more comfortable and essential. And that's why we're seeing it now. It is like, yes, 50 is objectively, I think, better than what we've had in a long time. But also it is like, it is exactly what we need right now. After I watched the coverage of us bombing an island, let's go to a different island where people are having a fun game. And, regardless of how you feel, like, it is... what you can always tell yourself is that no matter how people react to it in real life, it's just a game and you're just watching a game. So you have these people who can engage in their baser instincts, who can let their id right out a little bit. And they use that as an outlet of like, oh, this is something that I can live vicariously through you having a real human experience, something that's not fiction. But also, it's just a game, so if people are upset, then they just took it too personally. They didn't understand what they were signing up for.
Yes. Yes. Love it.
For American Dreamland, I'm Max Chavez.
And I'm Misty Stone.
Oh my god. Over 3 hours.
Well, only one of you may have made fire tonight, but right now it's clear this whole tribe is going up in flames. Grab your torches, head back to camp,